and off you go, Scott.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Friday on May 29th, 2020. This is Northern California Small Business Development Center's CARES Update live Q&A for small businesses. And this is brought to you by Northern California SBDC, as well as the Finance Center. And this is our session 23 of Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, updates on CARES and loans and all that great stuff. So we are all in this together. So a quick introduction, Northern California SBDC network is comprised of the most 36 northern counties in the state of California. It goes from the Oregon border down the coast to Santa Cruz, covers all 9 counties of the Bay Area, goes southeast to Stockton, then back up through Nevada border and then the Oregon border. And we're supported by SBA, Small Business Administration. Lucky for us, we have the district director for the Sacramento district office, Heather Luzzi. So she will talk a little bit later about some updates. And so we're funded by SBA, they're federal. We're also funded by the City of California of Economic Development, Department of the Governor's Office, which is called GoBiz. So because of our funding, state and federal, we offer no cost one-on-one advising to, I think somebody has an echo, but to small, medium-sized businesses at no cost. So we offer no cost one-on-one advising. We also offer a lot of webinars and educational events like this, also at no cost. So I'm part of the Finance Center. It's a division under Northern California SBDC's network, and I'm the director of the Finance Center. And then we also have Sandhya Maharaj. She may or may not be able to pick up on this call, but she's the associate director of the Finance Center. So what we do before COVID, we specialize in helping businesses access capital to start, grow, create jobs. Now we help businesses understand the COVID, the loans that exist within COVID, and then also if you're looking to start or kind of sustain your business, we can help you. So we specialize in those services. So the quick agenda, we have the disclaimer, we have a Paycheck Protection Program, PPP overview. There's some new information that came out from SBA around the $10 billion that was injected into CDFI, so we'll go over that very briefly. There's economic injury disaster loans, it's also known as EIDL. There's the California State Guaranteed Loans. They're also potentially available. And then Northern California SBDC, we've been partnering with some high powerful attorneys in the Bay Area to provide other information to businesses pro bono, no cost, to answer the questions that we can't answer around EDD, PUA, PUI, all that great stuff. And then we'll have an SBA update. So the disclaimer is that things are changing all the time. This information was correct when we put this presentation together, but things are changing all the time. We recommend that you do not hesitate or discourage yourself from applying for the PPP because you're not sure if you're going to get approved or not. The only beholder of that information is the lender that you apply with. So please don't discourage yourself from applying. Please apply. If you have a lot of investors or partners within your organizational structure, please converse with them before you take out a PPP loan or an EIDL loan, as they may not want you to do that. There's still lots of money available for PPP. The EIDL advance, we get this question like, where's the EIDL advance come from? Like, when does it come in my account? Well, when you apply, you give your checking account number and a routing number. So guess what? You just wake up one day and it's there. They don't call you, email you, text you, or anything. It just shows up one day and it says it's an ACH, which is automatic clearinghouse. It's an automatic payment, just like a payroll check. It goes and it's called SBA/D for disaster. If you applied for an EIDL before the web portal shut down, you know who you are. SBA will get back to you. Just really need to be patient. They are going to get back to you. They're a little bit behind, but it's okay. They're going to get back to you. The EIDL advance will automatically go into your account. When the EIDL advance goes in your account, you know it's coming soon, that they are going to email you and tell you if you're declined or approved for the EIDL loan. And we do not have access to check the status on your EIDL loan. There is an email that you can email with your loan number and you can see what they can find out for you, or you can call. But we're not the beholder. SBA, Heather, does not have a team that does this locally. So you just have to need to call the disaster team or email them and they'll tell you. So we have the forms for the PPP, like where do you go get them? So the PPP could be 100% forgivable depending on how well you document the loan as you spend the money and you get your paperwork together. It is a 1% loan. It's 2 years, 6-month deferment. So essentially your first payment will be on the 7th month and you'll have 18 months to pay it back. This loan does not require any personal guarantee. And if you're looking to apply, you're not sure where to apply, there's a universal form that you can get on the Treasury website, or you can email us. That's the first form that you do need to fill out before you go talk to a lender. If you're a sole proprietor, it's beneficial for you to have your 2019 Schedule C filed, or at least drafted. If you don't have it, you use 2018. But it's recommended that you have the 2019. Well, you need to get together all your 1099s for 2019. So a sole proprietor is somebody that files a Schedule C, that is self-employed. That's a sole prop. It's all the same thing. We get a lot of questions about that. So all other entities, that'd be like C Corp, S Corp, LLC, partnership, all that great stuff, maybe B Corporation, and 501c3s. You need to get together all your 2019 W-2s, 941s, or 940s for all of the years. All those forms for all of 2019 altogether for all your employees. So the 8 weeks start the day you get funded or the first payroll date after funding. So if you are set up on a biweekly or a more frequent payroll processing platform or processing, then you can choose to get the money today, but your payroll period maybe doesn't start till Sunday. So your payroll period would start Sunday. And that's your alternative covered period. But if you want to get the money today and spend it today, then you can. That's just the normal, call it the covered period. So what's forgivable? Very high level. There's an 11-page document that talks about what's forgivable, what's not forgivable. We're going to go over a little bit of that, but not fully. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions. And lucky for us, there's only 20 right now. It's pretty awesome. So what's forgivable? 75 to 100%. If you spend it on payroll, it could be 100% forgivable. 25% or less spent on utilities, rent, or interest mortgage payments. An interest mortgage payment is if you don't have a lease, but you own your building, have a loan, and then you pay your monthly interest payments on that. That's what that means. So there's this thing that came out from SBA the other day. I think it was like yesterday. It's might be confusing to some, but there was a set aside of $10 billion of the second tranche of PPP, and that's from round 2. And of that 10 billion, 3.2 billion has been spent with local CDFIs, which are Certified Development Financial Institutions, and they've already made 3.2 billion of the 10 billion. There's 6.8 billion remaining. And this money is helping to ensure smaller businesses and low-income communities have more opportunities to access the PPP so that they don't have to necessarily go to a big bank. They can go to a little lender or a micro lender. There's approximately, I'm not sure if this is 100% right, but I'm sure Heather can tell me if it's wrong or not. Based on that paper, that thing that came out yesterday, it said there was approximately like 120 billion left in PPP money. But that sounds a little high. Is that roughly what it is, Heather?
We know for certain that it's over 100 billion. The exact dollar amount we don't know because there are some duplicate loans in the system. So we're working our way through those.
Okay, thank you. So what's included in payroll costs comes up all the time. You can all see this here. We go over it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's salary, wages, commissions, up to $100,000 per employee. Anything over $100,000 cannot be forgivable or counted in the calculation on a month-to-month basis. We also have Noah Brode on the call. He's from the San Francisco district office. We have 2 in Northern California, so he's on the call as well. So thanks, Noah. So you can also include employee benefits, including costs related to leave, allowance for separation, dismissal, group health, including insurance, premiums, retirement, any state, local tax assessed. Again, for a sole proprietor or an individual or an employee, the max that you could do is it is limited to $100,000 in salary as far as calculating the total forgivable amount. What's not included in payroll is anybody, like I mentioned, it says it over and over again. They really want you to know that it's not anybody over that's over $100,000 in salaries. They're the money that's over $100,000 does not get calculated into the 8 weeks of forgivability. Payments to independent contractors. So you're not allowed to. You can get a PPP loan. You just can't use the money to pay independent contractors because they get to apply all by themselves. Then any compensation for people, individuals, employees that are outside the U.S. and then other qualified sick leave wages. Under this certain section of 7001. All right, so PPP forgiveness, paycheck protection, kind of walked over this a little bit. So what's included in the calculation are payroll costs. We kind of already went over this. So the extended guidelines that we received a couple weeks ago, it included gas as part of utilities. We're assuming that's like heater gas or something like that, or gas to like heat up water, but and then water, then transportation, but we're not sure what that means because we haven't gotten further guidance on it unless Noah or Heather have something. But transportation, we're not sure if it's freight or fuel or what it is. Then telephone or internet access. All right, so those kind of went over what you can use for payroll, what you can't use for payroll, all this good stuff, what you can use for non-payroll costs, which is like the utilities and stuff. Now we're going to kind of go into like how they calculate certain equations. There's a lot of questions on the Schedule C. If you take the line 31, divide it by 12, times it by 2.5, that'll tell you your loan amount. It's 2.5 months worth of payroll and rent, utilities, interest, mortgage payments times 2.5. And then the forgivable part is you take line 31 divided by 52 weeks times by 8. Because it's not 60 days, it's 56 days. You have to divide it by the number of weeks in the year and then times it by 8, and that's total forgivable amount for allotment of the covered period. The max amount for any employee or any sole proprietor individual is the max forgivable amount. Is you take $100,000 divided by 52 weeks times 8, and that number is $15,385. So there's no more. You can't get any more than that forgivable on payroll as an individual, sole proprietor, or a single employee. Schedule K is for like a partnership. You know who you are. The loan amount is similar to the Schedule C. Take box 14 divided by 12 times 2.5 gives you loan amount, and divided by 52 times 8 is the forgivable amount total. All right, so that's the PPP really quickly, but that's the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. Now we're going to the EIDL. There's a couple different parts of the EIDL. I talked about the advance a little bit. So the EIDL advance, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan advance, is 100% forgivable, meaning you don't have to pay it back. It's not a grant. It's 100% forgivable, and it's calculated as $1,000 for every employee up to 10 employees. So if you're a sole proprietor, you qualify for $1,000. If you're a sole proprietor with husband and wife, you qualify for $2,000. If you have 10 or more employees, you qualify for $10,000. And there's money that you do not have to pay back. For every loan with the EIDL, it's a 30-year loan. For for-profits, it's 3.75%. For nonprofits, it's 2.75%. You don't have to make a payment until the first of the 12th month. So there's 11 months deferred. This loan does require a personal guarantee, and it may require collateral. PPP doesn't require both or either. But depending on your situation, it might depend for you. I think at only this time, it's only open for agricultural businesses. If I can get a nod by either Heather or Noah, say yes, that's true. Okay, so it's still only open for agricultural businesses or in entities that applied before March 29th and have a loan number that starts with a 2. If you're one of them or you're not sure you're one of them, you can email us and we can help you out, figure that out. There might be some additional SBA forms you need to fill out to get the EIDL loan, and these are right here. If you need help filling these out, we can help you at no cost. All right, so what can the EIDL be spent on? We can always get this question. What can the EIDL be spent on? Well, it's mostly used for operating capital, operating money, operating cash that it would take to run, operate, sustain but not grow your business. Just operate and sustain, like payroll, accounts payable, fixed expenses, interest payment. You know, you can't refinance a loan with it, but you can pay the monthly interest with this. You know, you can't pay tax payments, penalties, stuff like that. So, applications are being processed on a first come, first served basis. Anyone who applied before March 30th needs to reapply. If you had a number that starts with a 2. And then the declaration date for this disaster through EIDL is January 31st. So if you didn't start your business before January 31st, you do not qualify. If you bought a business after January 31st, you do not qualify for EIDL. It had to be, you started before January 31st. Yeah. All right, so that's the EIDL. Now we're going to go into the state loan guarantee program. This is only available to you as a business owner if you were declined and or disqualified for both the EIDL and the PPP. So if you're a 501c6, for example, you don't qualify for EIDL or PPP, so therefore you can apply for the state loan guarantee. If you want to know how to do that, you can email us. We can help you at loans@asksbdc.com. There might be other reasons you get declined, whether you have poor credit of some sort. We don't have a minimum credit score that is being dispersed by SBA for EIDL or PPP for lenders or for Paycheck. But if you do get declined for credit reasons, you may or may not be able to qualify for a state loan guarantee, but it is an option for you. If you're delinquent on any federal loans, such as another SBA loan with another partner or a student loan that you never paid back, then you do not qualify for either EIDL or PPP. You can potentially qualify for the state loan guarantee. If you're a smaller company, you can qualify for up to a microloan, $50,000. You can go to ibank.ca.gov to find out more information. If you're a little bit of a larger company, you can apply up to $1 million. So the EIDL loan comes directly from SBA to your business. It's a direct loan. No lenders are involved, just SBA and you. For a PPP loan, it's your everyday 7A lenders. There's over 4,500 nationally that have signed up to do PPP. Those are lenders, everyday 7A lenders. You may bank with them, or they just might be down the street that you don't bank with. But that money comes from them, and then SBA will guarantee it as a federal guarantee, as they do all the time for other loans. The state loan guarantee is guaranteed by the state of California. It's called Infrastructure Bank. It's called iBank. And they are the state guarantee of these loans. Those are administered through financial development corporations, also known as FDCs. There's 7 in the state. There's 2 in Northern California in our region. One is in Oakland called NorCal FDC, and they cover all the Bay Area and Solano South. You can reach out to Chris Horton. He's one of our advisors, but he can help you and get access to these lenders. If you're in Sacramento area or Sacramento North to Oregon, you could, there's a Sacramento-based one. It's called California Capital. Debbie Miramoto is the CEO. Her and her team do an excellent job helping place capital. And you can email us, loans@asksbdc.com, since most of our team's in Sacramento, and you could reach out to the Finance Center team. We can help you, and we can help you find if this capital is actually right for you before you just call and apply. All right, so yesterday and every Thursday from 4 to 5:30, we jump on a phone call with a bunch of like really well knowledgeable attorneys, and they do a pro bono session. From 3 to 4, they do a session with like actual presenters, like what we're doing today. 4 to 5:30, they do it's just open office hours. It's crazy. It's an hour and a half of nothing but Q&A. They could be Q&A questions around EDD. They have a real estate law attorney on there for landlord issues and stuff like that. They have us on there to answer loan questions, and they have people that answering stuff about EDD, PUA, PUI. This is 100% no cost, pro bono. And it's really cool office hours if you have nothing better to do from 4 to 5:30 on a Thursday afternoon. All right, you made it to SBA. So this is SBA. If you were to get a brand new loan today, a 7A, which is like a traditional working capital loan, maybe an equipment loan, maybe a vehicle loan, or maybe some growth loan money, working capital. A 7A or a 504, which is like a large piece of equipment, a building, some land, a gas station, whatever you're trying to do. SBA will pay the interest and principal for the first 6 months, which is really amazing. Not sure it's ever happened before, but it's really awesome. So if you're looking to either sustain, kind of grow your business, or maybe start a business, any 7A, 504 lending that you get, SBA will pay the principal and interest for the first 6 months, which is really awesome. If you're looking to get a hold of disaster, you want to find out about your loan, you find out why you got declined, you want to figure out how to reconsider, reapply, all that great stuff, you can call the number, or you can email them with your loan number in the subject line. I would like to pass it off to Noah Brode from San Francisco and or Heather Lucy from Sacramento to give a small SBA update.
Sorry, I had to unmute, Scott. Just obviously, you already went over the $10 billion that has now been set aside for the CDFIs. I think that that's a great thing, and we're actually looking to further support underserved communities with that dollar allocation. So as Scott had stated as well, there's well over $100 billion left in the Payment Protection Program. So a great time to look for financing under that program. And thank you, Scott, for bringing up the debt relief portion of the CARES Act. I really think that that's a program that's underutilized at the present time, and we're looking forward to increasing our loan portfolio with that option. What else can I tell you? The EIDL transactions, as Scott stated, if you've got a loan number and you've applied and it starts with a 3, unfortunately, you just have to be patient at the present time, and we are getting through those as quickly as we can. The agency is still bringing on additional personnel to try to process those transactions, but unfortunately, due to the unprecedented volume, it's just taking much longer than we had anticipated initially. With respect to the EIDL advance, my understanding is that that has changed slightly with respect to the EIDL advance is, as Scott had stated, still going into your account with no prior notification of SBA. However, it is being done right after the credit pull. So that kind of gets the process started for the underwriting of the EIDL transactions. So other than that, not much else to say. Noah, any updates that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think the only, it's not an update on SBA's side, but likely many of the viewers are, were maybe thinking it would be an update today. And that's that legislation did pass in the House last night related to the Paycheck Protection Program and changes to that program. And the only thing that we can say about that is that up and until any of that legislation is signed into law by the president, it doesn't really exist. It's all under negotiation. Between now and when anything passes, there's likely to be a lot of headlines that business owners are seeing about changes to the PPP program. And up until any of that legislation is signed into law, those are simply headlines that are giving updates on the status of the negotiations and not updates about what the programs actually are until that legislation is signed into law. So just, that's not an update, that's more of a clarification. And I know that a lot of business owners have likely been reading the news and hearing about a number of different proposals about changes to the PPP program. But this morning, we can't really say anything about those because they're not, they don't exist yet.
Yeah, very good point. I also think that just the activity with our legislators is really telling, and they fully understand that the program does need some modifications in order for it to have the impact that we were looking for. So stay tuned, I think, is the method or the motto of the day.
All right. Thank you very much, Heather, and thank you very much, Noah, for being on the call. Much appreciated. And we are all, patiently waiting for for law to happen or to make it real, so that we can really talk about it and how it really impacts all of us. But so now we're going to go to the Q&A portion. I've been answering a little bit when Noah and Heather were speaking. I answered about 18. There's 40 left. Not too bad. Sometimes when we do this, there's like 200 questions, but maybe there'll be a lot more. Who knows? So if you want to get a hold of us and we don't answer your question today, you can call us at 833-ASK-SBDC. You can also go to asksbdc.com, and this is live streaming as we're speaking right now on that website. There's a bunch of other awesome information on that website. If you want to email us at loans@asksbdc.com, we'll get back to you same day. You call us, you get a live person same day. You can also, if you speak Spanish or you prefer to speak Spanish, you can go to espanol@asksbdc.com. We have a great team over there at the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce in Sacramento. They have a team of loan experts that speak Spanish in language and can teach you and walk you through the applications. Oscar Garcia and his team do an excellent job. You can email them at espanol@asksbdc.com. All right. So we also have another guest on the call. Her name is Michelle Elder. She's a CPA in Northern California, and she also jumped on this call. She's not presenting unless she wants to. We have time for it, and but I did want to give her some time to say hello. She wanted to say something or give some advice. So go ahead, Michelle.
I don't have any advice. I have submitted to SBDC a 15-page scan of a PowerPoint presentation.
Michelle, your sound is really bad.
It's running through my VPN. I'm really sorry. I can't do anything about it.
We can barely make out what you're saying.
So she said she created a 15-page document that goes through a lot of great stuff. I don't really know exactly what it goes through, but she sent it to one of our advisors, and we can get it out to all the people on this call. And if you want, Alan, you can email Linda Bigler. She probably has it.
Okay.
And she could put it in the chat and then figure out how to get them in front of Michelle. If that's what you're saying, Michelle. Do you want us to forward it out, or? No.
He says yes, please.
Oh, yes, please. Okay, thanks. So we'll go ahead and forward out what Michelle sent. So thank you very much, Michelle. I know you spent a lot of time on that, and it was intense. So thank you very much for that. It's very much appreciated, and it's good to have you and our arsenal. So thanks again for your time and your efforts within that. If you're having trouble speaking through your microphone, if you want, you can talk in the chat with David if you want to answer one of these questions. If I can't answer it, or we could figure it out from there. All right, so we've answered about 20. We have 43 left, and we have 59 minutes. So that's positive. All right. See what we can get through here. Okay, so we cut salaries 25% for the month of April, then restored everyone to full pay when our PPP came through. I'd like to repay the employees for the 25% April cutback. Would paying back the salary reduction from April during our 8-week PPP window count towards forgiveness? If PPP had come quickly, it would not have been so necessary to cut back, but it took 5+ weeks. So you can't use PPP money to go backwards. You can only use it to go forward. That's how I would answer that question. I'm not sure if you have a different answer, Noah, but I don't think so. I will tell that.
So PPP is for costs that are incurred or paid during the covered period, which is that 8-week period, either starting from the day of disbursement or using Or, there is an allowance if you have a more frequent than bi-weekly payroll period. You can start that 8-week period from the first day of your normal payroll cycle. But they have to be costs that are incurred or paid during that kind of period, during that 56-day period.
Okay. So somebody asked, like, is it possible for that transportation refers to mileage reimbursement? That would be a normal part of an employee's compensation. The answer is no at this time, but it may change. But I think the answer currently is no to that. Is it true that W-2 owner employees cannot forgive their own payroll on PPP? It seems strange that 100% self-employed can forgive their PPP, but not 20%. Have you ever heard that? Is it true that W-2 owner employees cannot forgive their own payroll on PPP? I haven't heard that. That's not true, but yeah, okay. That's not true. Owner greater than 20% ownership who works in business and receives payroll check, and W-2. Is it true they cannot be included in the PPP forgiveness even though that amount was included in the PPP application calculation? Included in reports from paychecks. So Heather, have you heard anything, or Noah, you heard anything about a 20% owner or more, 20% or more owner, that's an owner, that receives a paycheck, W-2, that it cannot be forgivable? Have you heard that?
Have not heard that.
No. Yeah, I've not heard anything to that effect.
Okay.
Especially if they're a W-2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. All right, I'm an S Corp and received the PPP and the email stating that I can get the EIDL. How long do I have to accept or decline the EIDL? Isn't it like 90 days or something like that?
Actually, I believe it's 30 days to
30
accept.
days. Okay. 30 days to
Yeah.
accept.
Well, yeah, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole after our last meeting on this exact question, whether it was 30 or 60 or 90. The loan agreement that you sign when you're in the portal gives you a 60-day period to accept it. And I have heard some feedback from business owners that there might be something baked into the portal itself, suggesting that they want a response within 30 days. But the agreement, the loan agreement, is a 60-day period to eject your, yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of questions around those of you that are asking, like, we have a slide on it. It asks, are there any restrictions on the EIDL loan usage for the businesses that got it? And there is. You can't use it to pay off loans. You can't use it to pay for taxes, past taxes, tax lien, stuff like that. But for the most part, there's not a lot of restrictions on it, but it's not forgivable, so you don't necessarily have to, unless SBA is going to make them prove as to what they spent it on.
Well, and I think the other portion of that, Scott, that's worth mentioning is that you cannot use the EIDL for the same purposes that you're using the Paycheck Protection Program. So that is kind of the differentiator there.
Yeah, okay. Good point. Thank you. It's good to keep in mind. How do I use my EIDL appropriately if I am a freelance makeup artist, sole proprietor, independent contractor? I have no actual business space that I lease. Nearly all my expenses are related to my business, i.e. credit cards, fuel, car lease, clothing, and supplies. Please let me know that I can use my loan appropriately. So you can use it all for that. You just can't pay off your credit cards. You can use it for the monthly interest that you pay for that, but you can't. For all that.
I'll caveat that by saying that if you took out a bridge loan or if you opened a credit card in order to deal with disaster-related expenses, you can use the EIDL funds. Basically, if you took out debt following that February 15th deadline, you could use it to pay off that bridge loan, but any debt prior to the disaster, you can only pay interest on.
Okay, sounds good. I received unemployment and PPP around the same time, and to my surprise, it seems that my unemployment would be about the same as my PPP, but obviously less work. I haven't confirmed yet for the unemployment because of PPP. Is it possible to still return the PPP at this time so I can collect the unemployment? All right, so you can return the PPP money anytime you want. There's no prepayment penalty. You may have to pay 1% for every month that you have it, because it does accrue. But you could also, there's this thing that you could also push out your unemployment and wait for it to come back after you receive the money, after you use the money for triple P. But yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can return it you want, you can spend it, you just can't spend payroll and triple P money on payroll during the same time period. We got our loan from SBA. Is it okay if we put this money in a higher interest giving account rather than leave it in the bank? We can't use all the money in one go. All right, so the SBA money, the EIDL money, is it's 30-year loan to get to pay back in 30 years. I guess what you do with it, if you put it in some other account, it's not used for that though. It's not used to invest it. It's used to use it for operating capital. When you say you can't use it all in one go, well, I don't really know what that means. Yes, you don't want to spend it all in one day. We get it, but like it's used for operating capital. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to go to business expenses. That's, I mean, you can put it in an interest-bearing account, like a checking account or a savings account, and use those funds towards it. But I wouldn't invest it in, you know, some, in a giving account.
All right. Hello, is Schedule K applicable for PPP? The answer is yes. If we can't use the 75% for payroll, but less, do we lose the forgiveness of the loan? We don't know that yet. We don't know if you do 65% is 100% forgivable or not. We don't know that. Or can we pay, or can we pay us more than what we showed last year in 941s? We don't know that yet either, right? Like you don't know if we could do a 25% increase yet, right? Like hasn't been validated, right? Or has it, Noah? Can you do an increase in pay?
So you can increase, so yeah, the question is about whether you can increase pay.
Yeah.
So there was clarification on that in the sense that you can provide hazard pay, bonuses, increases in pay to individuals under the Paycheck Protection Program, but that any direct cash compensation over $100,000 annualized can't be included in the forgiveness application. So if an individual, if you want to pay people more because maybe they were receiving more under pandemic unemployment assistance, and so you want to increase their pay so that it's attractive for them to return back to work, or provide hazard pay, or any of those bonuses. So long as it keeps them under that $100,000 annualized amount, they are eligible to, they can do so freely within this program. So that actually was a clarification that was made.
Oh, thanks.
Yep. So yeah, there's no 25% upper, threshold or any of those. None of those exist. What was clarified is just the only cap is that $100,000 direct cash compensation cap that when you go to apply for forgiveness.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. All right. Since employees are working from home and have direct and indirect expenses associated with setting up home-based office, can we give allowances to employees during the SIP and have them count towards? So no, you can't do that. Not that I know of. I don't think you can bankroll that. I received PPP funding on April 20th. My first payroll date from that date was May 1st for April 16th to April 30th. I can use this May 1st payroll date for my payroll expense. I don't think so.
No, because it's 8 weeks from the time that the loan is initiated, the time of disbursement on that loan.
Yeah, I don't think that. All right, thanks. I received a quote for the full loan. It's way less than I expected or would like. I had sent several messages asking about how the amount was calculated, how I can request an increase. I've not heard back. What should I do next? Well, you could email them with your loan number in the subject line, or you could call them and find out. like here to tell you what to do, but if you received money and you can use it, it's going to help you like sustain your business, then I would take the money. You might be able to reapply for more. We don't know yet, but I mean, yeah. All right, sorry, I'm an SBDC advisor. I have 2 clients that just got offered 150 when they were expecting much more. Is it feasible to tell them they might be able to request an increase in the approved for additional funds as it states they can in the loan docs? So the answer is yes, right? Like they could potentially apply for more later, possibly.
They can request an increase later on, but we are hearing more and more that due to the volume of loans that are going through the economic injury disaster loan process, that a lot of businesses are not getting what they had. There's really no request that you put on the application, honestly. It's just based off historical earnings, but they're getting much less than they had anticipated. So again, it's one of those things. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten the communication from headquarters with respect to how those figures are being derived, and once we do, we will communicate that out.
Okay, thank you. Says, I'm curious about the advance of $1,000 per employee. I thought it was granted, but now I'm hearing that it will be deducted from the PPP loan forgiveness. Can you address this? So it's not granted. Stop using the word granted. It's advance. It's given to you. It's 100% forgiven. Yes, they will take your PPP loan amount. They'll minus your advance amount, and then that it will be your new 100% potential forgivable amount with Triple P. So if you got approved for $50,000 of Triple P and $10,000 advance, then your new 100% possible forgivableness with Triple P would be 40 grand.
Correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
There might, I think there is a little bit of gray area somewhere in there that we might want eventually some more clarification on, like whether there's some conditions under which it wouldn't be backed out, but what we're letting folks know is definitely expect to have those PPP or those idle advance funds to be backed out of your total amount of forgiveness granted under the PPP.
All right, thanks. Can I use the idle loan to pay down existing credit card balances? You can just like your monthly credit card interest payments, not the whole credit card.
Yep, just the interest payments.
Yeah. Idle, a client was rejected for idle. Can they follow up to ask why and do a rebuttal? Yeah, you can. You can do a reconsideration. And when you get declined, they tell you how to do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the letter for a decline should include the reason that you were declined, as well as steps for appealing that decision and asking for a reconsideration.
Okay. Can you change? No, I already answered that. It says, can you change from a sole prop to an LLC after you receive an idle loan? I don't think so. Why would you do that? I paid my staff while we were shut down versus furloughing them. Will that cause a problem with the PPP forgiveness? Paid my staff while we were shut down versus furloughing them. Will that cause a problem with PPP forgiveness? Well, sort of. I mean, it won't cause a problem, but like PPP forgiveness is forward, it's not backwards. So if you get funded today and you paid them like the last 2 months, then no, that pay is not going to be forgiven. It's going forward. So I'm not sure.
Well, I think a better way to put that, Scott, is that you can't reimburse yourself for those payroll expenses, but you can absolutely pay your staff while you are closed. That's kind of the whole premise of the Paycheck Protection Program to begin with. So it's either the employee applied for the pandemic unemployment insurance, or the employer continue to pay them through the Paycheck Protection Program. And that's why there's that forgivable portion. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense.
Thanks, Heather. I have an employee that had to let go due to performance. I have replaced them. Do I lose the forgiveness for her payroll?
Not if you replace them.
All right, can EIDL be used to make mortgage payments on property owned by business? Yes, it can. Just the monthly payments, not monthly interest, right?
Interest, not principal, correct.
Does PPP still have funds? Yes, they do. They have a bunch, a little over 100 billion. Her friend's bank told her there was no more money available as of Tuesday. Well, that means the bank, they don't have any more money, or they don't want to do any more loans, or they're at capacity. So I'll send you our email. You can email us or call us and we can assist you. We'll find other lenders for you. Let's see, we'll go back to the top. All right. You say taxes imposed or withheld cannot be used for forgiving the loan, but you also said that we are to use the gross pay, which includes federal and state withholding. Which is it? So you could use gross pay. You just have to carve out the federal taxes of what is within that gross pay and put it aside, like on like a separate piece of paper or something like that. And then just count the gross pay plus the state withholding. That's what you have to do. So, yeah. At the end of each year, we contribute to employees' 401k accounts, typically 5% of annual pay. Can we make that contribution during the PPP period instead of waiting until December? I don't think you can do that because it's not a normal practice for you to give a contribution of 5% to 401k in the middle of the year. So that's what I think, but I'm not sure if you know or Heather agrees. But
I think the other thing I would say is that we don't have, direct guidance around adjustments to benefits under the Paycheck Protection Program for that forgivable period.
all right.
I think we lost Heather. I was like, Heather, maybe Heather wants to weigh on that. She'll probably come back in on that.
Okay. How do newest changes to PPP affect those of us who got our funds early April 13th and have been doing everything we can spend as much of the money as we can correctly accordingly to old guidelines before the 8 weeks are up? Well, we don't know how the newest changes are because there are no newest changes, really. There's the House and then there's hopefully going to be law. Once the law comes out, whether it's today, tomorrow, Monday, we don't know. It'll probably come out really soon because you're right, 8 weeks are coming up very fast for some of you. So we don't know right now at that time how to answer your question. But Noah said that, maybe Noah can say this instead of me say this.
Like when you start a sentence with that, Scott.
Noah said, Noah, can you tell them how long they have to get the money forgivable once the 8 weeks are up? Can you just tell them that? So by July, is it July or June 31st? You have 1 calendar year to apply for forgiveness. So it is June 31st, 2021, I believe, to apply for forgiveness.
And that's from disbursement date or from the end of the period?
I don't know if it, when that starts. The date that is listed it's July 30. Let me make sure I've got the right date. If it's June or July. I think it's June 30th. Sorry, June 30th, 2021. So borrowers must submit requests for forgiveness to the lender no later than June 30th, 2021. So that's a 1 year period, essentially, roughly. So it doesn't, it's not like you have to have that application in, on, the first day after the 8 week period. But the question maybe was about whether, changes in law, how that's going to impact things.
Yeah, but we don't know. Yeah.
And the answer to that is, we don't know. Depending on how there's a multitude of ways that the law could be written and that law to be implemented into rulemaking by the agency. And So in some cases, we might have like a rule come out and treat people who had applied to the program before before a certain date under some rules, and after a certain date by another rules. We could create grace periods, if rules treat, we could reset clocks. It's just until those rules come out, it just doesn't do anybody good to do a lot of speculation about what, how to interpret something that doesn't exist yet.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Noah. You guys hear me?
We can hear you now. Yeah, we lost
Okay,
you.
thank you. I lost video. I can't seem to get back on, so I apologize, but I'll stay on the phone.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Heather. All right, sole proprietor, no tax returns filed for 2018 and 19, but payroll records for EIDL. We got an offer for EIDL, but as a small business service company, we will have no collateral to offer, and that's okay. You don't necessarily need collateral unless they ask for it. Usually, yeah, go ahead.
You won't get denied for a lack of collateral, but if collateral exists, SBA does take it.
All right, cool. Sole proprietor, no tax. Oh, sorry, I just answered that. That's where it jumped up again. All right, we offer a qualified small employer health reimbursement account. A QSEHRA to employees. Are those reimbursements forgivable if submitted during that? I think it is, right? Forgivable. It's a qualified small employer health reimbursement account. I don't even know what that is. I could ask them to email us. I don't know what that is. Somebody asked about, can you explain the bridge loan? Yeah, so there's bridge loans in general. Bridge loan, what it means is money that you get in the interim of you waiting for a loan to be funded. That's what a bridge loan is. But it could be the SBA bridge loan where, but that's what a bridge loan is. Yeah, the person that asked the question didn't ask about it.
Basically, any short-term financing that you may have taken out, though, to address it, to address your business needs during the disaster period. That short-term financing, you can refinance that with, I don't know if it's a refinance, but it's you can pay that off using EIDL funds.
Okay.
Any debt before the disaster, timeline, that what was it? I think February 15th is the date of the disaster declaration. Any debt you may have held before that date, you can only make interest payments on.
Okay. All right. It's 11:25. We have 35 minutes. We've answered 71. We have 49 more. So there was a bunch that just got added, obviously. So yeah. We only have 3.
I'll put one other caveat on that, which is like this, they have to be business expenses, of course, or business debt. So like any usage of the EIDL funds has to be within the, within the confines of what the loan is for in the first place. So it's not like your personal credit cards. These are business expenses and working capital needs.
Okay. Could you explain what it means to not use PPP and EIDL advance for the same things when EIDL dollars are going to be subtracted from PPP funds anyway? I'm confused. You just can't use them for the same thing. So like you can't.
It's duplicative services. So like if you're using the Paycheck Protection Program for the actual payroll for that 8-week cycle, then the EIDL transaction or EIDL funds cannot be used for that same purpose. The EIDL advance, however, I mean, you can allocate those funds really in any manner. And again, if you get the EIDL advance, it will be deducted from the PPP forgiveness portion, but if you don't get a PPP, there's nothing to deduct. So again, it's kind of just that duplicative service or duplicative use of proceeds distinction there.
Okay.
Yeah, the broader context with that is duplication of benefits is an item that all federal government programs have to work with, which is that we know there are multiple programs out there. We know there's PPP and we know there's EIDL, and a person could just apply for EIDL and get EIDL, or they could just apply for PPP and get just PPP. But we also know that some people apply for everything, and an individual can't receive benefits under multiple programs for the exact same situation, exact same issue. And that mostly applies most strongly for grant funds. And that's why you can't receive grant funds or funds that you don't have to pay back at all. So that's just the broader context around that idea.
Excellent point, Noah. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So if you wait until next June to apply for forgiveness, what is the benefit? Seems like you would just be accruing interest on unforgivable amount of money.
Well, when the loan is forgiven, it also, any interest that is accrued is forgiven as well. But you're correct in terms of that. Like if you had 100% loan forgiveness, it would. But yeah, I mean, I think waiting that full calendar year, isn't. It's more like that's an allowance. We know that people are in different situations, and there might be some instances in which a person might wait that long to apply. We fully expect most people to apply immediately.
Okay, sounds good. Receive PPP money. Number 1, some employees laid off now have another job and not coming back. 2, one employee moved out of state. Do we get PPP credit for them? I think the answer is no, because they're not going to be on payroll by June, or not by, but they're not going to be on payroll come June 30th. Also, if employee quits or is fired for a cause between now and 6/30, do we receive PPP credit for them?
So they won't. So make sure that you have that documented, that you have their notice that they gave you as part of the documentation, or that you have documentation about the dismissal. And in that case, that FTE, that head count, will be backed out of forgiveness reduction calculation when you go to apply for forgiveness.
Okay. You want to say something to that, Heather?
I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
it's
I
fine.
apologize.
Okay, no, that's fine. I saw your box light up, so I was wondering if you wanted to speak. To follow up on Heather's comment, can an EIDL advance be used for payroll expenses? The answer is yes. Would that be considered payment for duplicative services? Well, it depends on if you're using the PPP for payroll expenses at the same time, but
yeah. I mean, the way to think about this is during the 8-week period, you should probably prioritize using PPP funds towards payroll. Even if you get both, if you get both services, say you got both, as of June 1st, you got the EIDL and you got the PPP, and they both got dispersed into your bank account at the start of that, on that day. I would advocate that you use PPP funds towards payroll right away, because there's an 8-week period starting from the date of disbursement where you're eligible for forgiveness. So prioritize using PPP funds towards payroll costs. And then after that 8-week period, it's, you could use EIDL funds towards towards payroll costs, or, or if you still had PPP funds left over that you were choosing to roll into a loan, you could use those towards payroll. You have a lot more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
thanks, Noah. Does Family First paid leave qualify for PPP? So paid leave does qualify, but
not Family First.
Not Family First. Okay.
Yeah. So any kind of pay, yeah, any leave that is covered by the Family First Coronavirus Act, FFCRA, I think is what it is. Essentially, there are dedicated funds under a different program that will pay for that sick leave and for those leave benefits. And for that, this is that duplication of benefits item kind of coming back. There are multiple programs out there. There's economic injury disaster loans. There's PPP. There's also the Family First Coronavirus, the FFCRA, I think is what it is. There's also that one, which provides funding for leave benefits. And so any leave that's paid for under the FFCRA, I need to get that acronym down, I guess. Any leave that's paid for under the FFCRA is not covered by PPP.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we've answered 92, we have 39, let's keep coming. Is the 75% payroll based on the total PPP loan? Yes, or the balance after the EIDL advance is removed? So what do you think? Is the EIDL advance, if you have 50 grand PPP, EIDL advance 10 grand, now you have 40 grand, is it 75%? Oh, I actually know the answer, I think. The 75% is based on the 40 grand, correct? Right? No, I think so. I think the answer is yes.
I think you're right too. I have to think about that one for a moment, but it sounds correct.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, okay. How do you suggest dealing with changing rules? Our lender told us we would be able to reimburse previous payrolls during the declared pandemic, but now the SBA forgiveness rules seem to specifically say otherwise. Any suggestions? Well, I'd say if your lender told you that, they were wrong, because it can't go backwards. You just can't go backwards. I'll put more info and you can email us, but unfortunately, lenders are giving bad information out, and that's unfortunate. It's really hard for us to gauge that and to stop it, but yeah, we apologize for that. Just reach out to us. I put an email in there. I'm self-employed. I'm a self-employed consultant. Hey, Sunita made it! Yay! Sunita is our Associate Director of the Finance Center. She thought she'd just hang out for the last 25 minutes to like make it more fun and interesting. So she might be answering some of the Q. She might, whatever. She might just say hello. You want to say hello? Say hello to everybody.
Hi everyone. Good to see you. Did you guys get through 100 questions yet?
94.
Nice. Good
Yeah.
job.
That's what we're thinking about. Yeah. Crushing it. All right. So I'm a self-employed consultant, Schedule C. I'm starting to get some unemployment income I applied for in February. I've been declined for EIDL once and have reapplied. I have an outstanding PPP application too. Any problem with me accepting and repaying either loan? No, there's no problem. You just can't use unemployment and use PPP at the same time. Do I accept the grant if it comes? Not a grant, it's an advance. I'd accept it, but it's up to you. Actually, you don't have a choice. It just goes in your bank account, really. I want to see what all I could get first. Well, we don't know. We don't know what you're gonna get first, but I would take unemployment if you get it. If you get PPP, I put unemployment on hold, and then I would take the advance. We have monthly payroll for 3 salaried and 2 hourly employees. We received our loan on May 6th. May I do a manual calculation to arrive at compensation totals for 56-day comparisons and forgiveness? I don't think you can do that, but I'll give you our email. I don't really understand your question. That's a really weird one. All right. How do I document paying myself for the 75% that I can get credit for paying myself? I find the loan forgiveness form confusing. Well, good. We do too. We find it super confusing. How do they document themselves, Noah?
So there's not like an explicit, item that's in that form. There is like a page that says, documentation that will be required, by your lender, or that may be required. Most of the documentation on the documentation page on that forgiveness application relates to payroll expenses, and For sole proprietors and self-employed individuals who are paying themselves, the advice I have at the moment is to ask your lender how they would like that to be documented. In some cases, they may want a canceled or voided check, or they may want, showing that I mean, basically, I would say at the moment, it's because ultimately you will also be applying with your lender for forgiveness. And so yeah, that's the advice at the moment. Work with your lender and make sure that you're documenting it in a way that that specific lender would like to have that expense charged or that expense documented.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, typing this question up. All right, cool. I received a $1,000 EIDL advance. One employee applied for the EIDL for 1,000. Applied for the EIDL for 1,000 because that's the minimum amount set and got approved. Is this 1,000 loan on top of the EIDL advance, and will the 1,000 advance automatically be forgiven? But I only have to pay 1,000 loan. Yeah, the advance is forgiven regardless of the amount. The loan you got to pay back. So yeah, if you received an advance for 1,000 and a loan for 1,000, you just have to pay 1,000 back. We are a small robotics, 30 people, VC, venture-backed company. Biggest ownership is less than 15%. We got a PPP loan, but our EIDL loan was declined, and they used the reason unverifiable information. My question is, can we make a petition for reconsideration? The answer is yes. I'll put my information in there. Oh.
Yeah, that's a perfect scenario to apply for the reconsideration.
Yeah. We can help you with that. We're learning more and more every day about this reconsideration and how to help you get through it. Sole prop here, I DocuSign for EIDL. I'm positioned to be approved for PPP soon. Can I put my EIDL on hold so as to not have to accrue interest once the EIDL, while I may not use the EIDL funds depending on how long those funds last me? All right, well, you could put the EIDL on hold, I guess, but only 30 days for not accepting it. But if you do accept it and you don't want it anymore, you just give it back. Just pay it all back if you want. You don't want to hold on to it anymore. For payroll costs, health benefits are paid a month in advance. So the benefits are not incurred in the same month as payment. How would this be handled for forgiveness of PPP? So there's that incurred in cost or incurred and paid. So if it's paid a month in advance, actually they changed the forgiveness 11 pages. They used to say it used to be incurred and paid. Now they're saying it's either or. And if that's the case, if it's either or, then I would say that it may be forgiven, but this one's a little tricky actually, right? Because if you prepay it, right, you paid it in the 8 weeks, but it's prepaid, then it sounds like it'd be okay. But
language is incurred or paid.
Yeah.
So I guess that's, I can't really, give the, give deep dive into, all the boundaries around incurred and paid, but the language in the forms is incurred or paid.
Okay. And then let's see here. Approximately how long is it taking for the EIDL loan, not advance, to show up in the bank accounts after you DocuSign?
That should be really quick after the DocuSign.
After the DocuSign, it can be pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, it could be, I've worked with business owners who it's been, within 24 hours to a few days to, maybe it depends if there's a holiday or a weekend in between or anything like that, but it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. There's not like another level of review or anything after that. Yeah, someone in the chat says the business in their area got their loan in 4 days after approval.
4 days, wow. I was approved for the EIDL loan, but have not submitted the closing docs. If I don't want to move forward, can I just not submit the closing document?
Sure. Nothing will be dispersed until you submit the closing docs. You have up to 60 days to sign them. And, if you're really certain that you don't want it, I would, maybe suggest sending an email, letting, or contacting folks and letting people know that you'd like to withdraw your application, because that frees up funds, more quickly for other applicants. But yeah, you don't have to accept it.
All right, cool. We have 18 minutes left. We've answered 111. We have 29. EIDL program, how many loans have been made? How much has been funded? And what portion of the funds allocated to the program remain? That's a really good question. So does either you, Noah, or Heather have like a quick idea of like how many loans have been done from EIDL, and then what's the total amount? I know you don't know how much is left, but we'll get that. They're going to get that for you. They're going to say.
Yeah, we'll pull it up. I think the numbers were published the other day, but I don't have them at the ready.
Okay, we'll get it.
Yeah.
Are hazard pay bonuses included in PPP forgiveness? I don't think so, right? Hazard pay bonuses?
They could be.
They could be. Okay.
Yeah. Hazard pay. Basically, that falls into that is, can you increase the pay discussion for PPP? And you can increase an individual's pay so long as they remain under that $100,000 annualized salary cap, and still claim that for forgiveness.
Okay. I think this was answered. Got my EIDL notice to provide documents last Friday. Still putting them together. How much time do I have to submit them? I think you have 30 days, right, to submit your EIDL documents. Noah just said use the PPP first for payroll and then EIDL when PPP is exhausted. I understood EIDL could not be used for payroll. Well, you understood that wrong. It can be used for payroll.
Yeah, it can be used for payroll.
Yeah.
But the advice is, if you're participating in both programs, EIDL has 30 years. There's no need to spend it immediately on payroll in that first 8 weeks. PPP has 8 weeks in which you can make eligible expenses that could be forgiven. So this is just a strategy discussion for business owners. You don't have to do it this way, but it's if you're participating in both programs, PPP has pretty restrictive uses, just payroll costs for the most part, with that 25% and other allowable, and EIDL, and an 8-week period in which to do all that. And EIDL is 30 years for pretty much any working capital expense. So, if you're participating in both programs, I think it's prudent to put your attention and focus on how you're spending those PPP funds first.
Okay. All right, somebody's saying like they did not receive the advance, but they got an offer for a loan, which they signed. They're asking if the first 10,000 is forgiven. The answer is no, unless you have 10 or more employees. And I was typing up this as I was answering it. So you need to really look in your checking account. We have people that said that, wow, they got $9 grand, they have 9 employees. They didn't even see it in the checking account. So you need to just check. It's very rare that you would get, the loan before the advance.
And I have worked with some business owners on this. I worked with one just the other day, and with one business owner I worked with, in their case, when they filled out the original application, they didn't click the checkbox asking for the advance. When there's like a checkbox in the last page where it says, yes, I would like to receive an EIDL advance. If you opted out of that, you might not have received the advance as well. If you got your loan and you didn't get the advance, you're welcome to reach out to our district office, and we can connect you with somebody in the Office of Disaster Assistance, and maybe follow up on that specific situation.
All right, thanks. thought we applied for an EIDL back the first week of April, but we do not have a number, references to numbers that start with a 2 or 3 on the weekly presentations. How do we get a loan number? The time you submitted the application is the time you get the loan number. It starts with a 36. If you don't know your loan number, then how do they find it out? They have to put their social security number, EI number in a subject line and email SBA? Is that how they do that? Okay.
Yeah, they can, or they can call the 1-800 number at the Office of Disaster Assistance, and see if they're able to look up the loan using their EIN number or other information about their business.
Okay. Sweet. We're down to 20 questions. We've answered 127. PPP 8 weeks starts with funding or first regular pay period after receipt of funds. All right, yeah. So it's either or. It depends on the way your payroll cycles are. It can start today if you get funded today, or it can start Sunday or the next Sunday, depending on when your first payroll period is. So it depends on how your payrolls are. I have a client that never got her EIDL advance, but has been funded on EIDL, The self-employed $1,000 have been verified, never have hit her account. She has been on the phone and email in contact with no response. All right, Sheila, I'm going to put my email in there and you can email us. We'll help you out. We don't have an answer right here on the call right now, though, because we can't check status for you on the call. Are you able to bring on a contractor and pay them as an employee and switch them to contractor after the 8-week time frame? I don't think you could do that. You might be able to do that, right? I guess they could do whatever they want, right? Technically, you could, but right?
Yeah, after the 8-week time frame, whether they converted them to a contractor or not, that's not explicitly prohibited. I mean, basically once you've, I mean, they might be able to deal with that.
You would have to be careful if you
there's an HR law question maybe that Sunita.
Yeah, if you classify them as an employee and then flip them back to 1099, why are they no longer an employee? So you're going to have to be careful with that portion of it and speak to one of our HR people. I believe we're having a call next Friday with our HR specialist. So hold off on that. If you think that there is a question on what you're doing, be very careful about what you're doing, because if it's not laid out on these Q&As or laid out from SBA or Treasury exactly how it states, then we can't tell you if it's going to be okay or not. We don't know. So just be very careful when you're doing that, flipping people back and forth, because there may be other repercussions other than what you're doing for the loan.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's other, there's state laws and there's other HR laws that I can't comment on, but maybe the HR professionals at SBDC could also. You just want to be, it's not all SBA in that respect when you're changing people from one status to another.
Okay. There's a lot of questions around, can I get bonuses? And, as of this point right now, from what I know, you can only give bonuses if it's a common practice.
I'm correcting that again. It's like the third correction. Yes, you can't. So our pay increases allowable as of last Friday when we, and I can even bring it up here. So pay increases are allowed so long as, and any direct cash compensation is allowed so long as they remain under that $100,000 cap. So our salary, wages, commission payments to furloughed employees, bonuses, hazard pay, any of that during that 8-week period that you offer, which is above and beyond what you may have been normally paid, that those payments are eligible for forgiveness so long as they don't exceed an annual salary of $100,000 as prorated for the covered period. So that's just directly from the rules last Friday.
Okay. Okay, so no, I got a question for you, Noah, since you're all knowing. Hey,
sorry, Scott.
Is there, it's fine, Noah. I don't need to talk the whole time. You can talk too. Hey, so is there a percentage max that you can give on a bonus though, or like a pay raise, or like whatever? Like, so it's like, say I make 50 grand a year as an employee, but I want to pay somebody 100 grand a year and I give a $50,000 increase. Can you do that or no?
So long as an employee's total compensation does not exceed $100,000 on an annualized basis, prorated for that 100,000 for that 8-week period, there's, that's the cap. That's baked in. And so
Okay.
So yeah, you can increase it as much as you want up to that cap.
Okay.
And I mean, on a prorated, yeah, you can do the math on what $100,000 on an annualized basis for an 8-week period looks like. It's like,
okay.
anyway,
Yeah. Do you know if they can give a straight $1,000 hazard pay from PPP? Like it says, can they give $1,000 hazard pay from PPP? I don't know. That's the question, but I don't know the answer. Can they? Yeah.
Well, I think that's the same thing that Noah's been saying, is that as long as we do not exceed that $100,000 cap, there's really some flexibility with respect to the compensation with hazard pay or bonuses or commissions or along those lines.
right. Yeah. Wage increases, any of that, that's all, that's all allowable. Basically, the big bucket is called direct cash compensation. And, whatever you want to call, those other, it's a bonus, it's tip, it's anything else, but anything that's direct cash compensation has that $100,000 annualized cap built in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, Scott, if I could interject, I came across the information that we were waiting on with respect to the EIDL numbers. This is as of the 23rd, so it's just about a week old, but the most recent that we have. In any case, the EIDL advance, we have done 3.1 million advances for a total of $10.2 billion. And with the EIDL loans, we are currently at just over 500,000 loans approved for a total of $42.4 billion. With respect to the EIDL loans themselves, we do not have the state breakdown for those numbers at this moment, but for the advances, California has been the largest recipient of those advances for just over $7 billion. So just a huge difference over the other 49 states in the EIDL advances.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Heather. Appreciate the update.
Sure.
Hey, Noah, can you also increase owners' wages too? Probably, right? Because it's just that open-ended question thing that you're saying. I think he froze.
I just dropped off. Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Okay. Can owners increase their salaries too?
As long as it falls under the cap, there's, there's the other cap that's built in for sole proprietors, which is that 8-week period. But yeah.
They're employee W-2.
Mm-hmm.
So can I read one? This is probably something that came on when I wasn't here. So it says, just to clarify, a sole prop independent contractor with no overhead office space lease besides my home office, I am allowed to pay my car lease, fuel, car lease payments, supplies, payments on credit cards, clothing. These are all expenses that are incurred day to day to continue my business and be able to work with clients. I can pay the interest payments of prior loans when do I have to submit this info to SBA of how my EIDL money was used and when?
Oh, this is for EIDL.
All right. I
Yeah.
thought it was
Okay.
PPP as well.
Yeah. So that's for EIDL. The answer is yeah. Those are all business expenses, and yeah, that EIDL is a loan, so you agree to the loan terms for it, and it's not it's not something where you have to be reporting constantly on all of your expenses to SBA automatically. I don't know. Heather, have you worked with disaster loan recipients in the past? Do you know what the servicing on those loans looks like?
Unfortunately, I don't. I mean, I know that a lot of the campfire recipients over here in my district had, challenges with, constituting what was, rent or anyway, honestly, it's kind of on an individual case-by-case basis, and if you have any challenges, my recommendation is to reach out to your district office, and we will try to assist with navigating through those. But Noah's right, with the EIDL program, you don't have those specific limitations that you do with the PPP program.
Yeah, it's a broad, working capital business expenses.
Yeah.
And then something else I think to point out too is we're talking a lot about the forgiveness with the PPP program, and that's wonderful, and it would be great if the entire amount was forgiven. But keep in mind, this is still really inexpensive money. I mean, at 1% if it's not forgiven. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It still could be extremely beneficial even if you don't have the 100% forgiveness.
Okay. All right, we answered 147. We have 10 left. We're not going to get to the 10. It's 11:59. Maybe we could just choose one more. I thought this was a kind of a cool question. Would a mechanic who only works on agricultural equipment be considered in the ag business? Sneaky. Maybe, what if he let's see, would a mechanic who only works on agricultural equipment? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I'll just,
so, yeah, there's, there's kind of two answers to this. One is the Office of Disaster Assistance makes eligibility determinations. So if you're kind of like, oh, do I qualify, do I not qualify? You're welcome to apply, and the Office of Disaster Assistance will make an eligibility determination. You shouldn't self-select out of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. The other is that, the agricultural, the agricultural definition is, it's small business concerns engaged in the production of food and fiber, ranching and raising of livestock, aquaculture, and all other farming and agricultural related industries. So that's kind of the broad definition of what an agricultural enterprise is. But yeah, I would say, you're welcome to put in an application and allow the Office of Disaster Assistance to make that eligibility determination.
And that's a 90-minute close, folks. So that's 90 minutes. We haven't hit a record, but we only had Sunita with us for part of that time. So, 149 questions either answered or dismissed, only 9 left open. You folks know where to get those answers from.
That's pretty good. It's because Sunita was out there peacocking around, just trying to stay away from us, so.
And you can't blame her, Scott. You can't blame her.
Right? Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, obviously, Noah and Heather for being on. Thanks, Dave, for helping out in the background. Thanks, Sunita, for eventually joining us. And Scott for doing such great work during the day, most of the time. I think that's pretty much everyone. It's time to say goodbye and start a weekend as soon as you can manage it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Noah. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
Take care.